Welcome to CityWise. I'm your host, Tiana Stevens. CityWise is produced by the City of Rochester to shine a spotlight on city living at its best. Well, the YWCA of Rochester and Monroe County is a critical resource in our community. Its programs empower women and girls who are faced with personal crises. The YWCA also works to promote racial justice. This summer, they've partnered with BreakThru Magazine to tell the stories of 3 local women and how the support they're receiving from the YWCA has helped them change their lives. Carrie Michael Wynn, Director of Housing at the YWCA, and Juanita Washington, Editor-in-Chief of BreakThru Magazine, are here to tell us more. Thank you, ladies, for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
Carrie, let's start with you. What's the mission of the YWCA?
Really, it boils down to empowering women and eliminating racism in our community. For us, it's very personal, and every woman that walks through the door has their own personal needs. So being able to meet those needs on a very personal level is very important to us.
And Juanita, you also use the word empower for BreakThru Magazine. Tell us about BreakThru Magazine's mission.
Well, you know, what I always say is we have uplift, motivate, and empower on our magazine, but it's more than what we print. It's what we believe, and we put it into everything we do. So every partnership that we create, every story, that's our mission, to make sure that people are empowered and, you know, feel a different way than before reading the magazine.
And for the summer edition, there's been a special collaboration here. Why don't you guys tell us how that came about?
Well, our assistant editor, Shakiva Miller, actually brought the idea to us. She's a huge community advocate. She loves to be a part of the community, and she, had the idea of let's partner up with some women's groups. And so we both decided, why not the YWCA? I had gone to their luncheon last year with Susan Taylor, and it was phenomenal. And the programs and the housing that they provide for ladies just touched us so deeply and dearly that we said we have to reach out and talk with these ladies to provide, just give them a special day. And so that's really why we decided to do it.
Okay, and what exactly happened on this special day?
Well, we brought the ladies in through the Y. They actually chose 3 ladies, and we brought them in, and we provided massages. They got a makeover and a photo shoot, and we really wanted them to see themselves in a different light, to see the fact that they may have come to the Y in one way, but that they were in transition and that their lives were changing while they were there because of the Y's programs. And we wanted to kind of show that to them on the outside, like things are different. And that's exactly what we tried to do for them that day.
Okay, and Carrie, why don't you tell us what are some of the programs at the YWCA?
We offer housing programs. We offer support to young women who are either pregnant or parenting. We work on large community issues such as racial justice. But in-house, working directly with women, we really try to get to know a woman and figure out what it is that they need in order to have the ultimate empowerment. And we tailor service plans that are directly connected to their goals and their passion for a better life. So it might be offering transportation to a job, or it might be helping somebody identify permanent housing so that they can get out of a housing crisis. It might be connecting them with resources in the community for employment services, or sometimes the empowerment comes from a special touch, like this initiative where they look beautiful on the outside and all of a sudden their whole outlook on life changes, and that's the catalyst for great change.
And so when a woman or a girl shows up on the doorstep, so to speak, what's the very first step?
The first step is really to have a very effective engagement. Women will leave faster than they come in if they don't feel that there is a person that really cares about them and that they can trust. So we really get to know people on a very personal level. But usually people are in crisis, and so we have to first identify some of the trauma that they may have experienced, but really pay very special attention to the goals that they have, or some of their talents and some of their great attributes, and capitalize on that so that they can really go out and make a difference in their lives and be productive citizens.
And Juanita, in this issue of BreakThru, some very inspiring stories of three very special, talented women, like you say. Can you take us, tell us a little bit about each of them? Let's start with Mila.
Okay, with Mila, she was such a beautiful spirit when she walked in. Her spirit was so beautiful, and her story was so inspiring. The fact that she had recently had a stroke, and that's what brought her back to the Y. However, she didn't have any other family in the area, but she knew of the Y because she had been serviced there 20 or 30 years ago. And the work that they've done with the Y just 30 years ago had such a strong impact on her that she said, I know where to turn to. And that struck a chord, and I was like, that's exactly why we did this, and that's exactly what the Y is about, because she hadn't been there for 30 years, but when she was in need, she knew where she could turn. And then we also have Latasha. And Latasha had a very great story. Her story touched me dearly because she's a mom and she has 3 girls, and she found herself without a place to stay. And right now she's battling regaining custody of her kids, and the Y is helping her with that and providing her with skills and tools for her to do that. And as a mom, her story touched me because, when you see someone, besides their circumstances, but when you really relate to them on, I'm a mom, you're a mom, I see you're in pain, and whatever we can do to help. And she was so thankful to the services the Y had provided her, and she was also so goal-oriented, and it speaks to what we were talking about earlier about how they're very specific in the goals that they want the women to reach, and she has a goal and she's ready to reach it.
Let's just step back for a minute and talk about housing specifically. If you don't have housing, you really need to address that first. And there's several different housing services that are offered through the YWCA. Can you tell us about those?
Sure. We've really put a lot of emphasis on aligning with community priorities to end homelessness. And so we really work to get women in through the front door so that we can engage. So we have emergency housing at the YWCA, which typically women stay for about 14 to 16 days. So we work really hard to get them back into the community and permanently housed. We are offering a program for women in recovery and working to help women regain custody of their children, learn how to live in a sober lifestyle, and build skills that they'll need to be able to live independently. We offer SROs, which are single room occupancy units, which allows women to live in a community but have their own private space, which is really excellent for women who have experienced past trauma and really feel like they need ongoing support. And then we have several programs out in the community. We have apartment complexes that make housing affordable. Women really face significant housing burden and a lot of costs that are associated with just surviving, particularly young mothers. So making housing affordable, but offering some support services, whether it's short-term or long-term, is really very helpful in helping women sustain permanent housing.
And finally, the third lady that's featured, Rossi.
Yes, Rossi. And she's every bit of her name, Rossi. She brought so much sass to the set, and she was so open about her story, and her story is one that's touching because it's one she speaks to some women who are plagued with drug abuse and drug addiction, and she's open about it, and she's turning her life around, and she's saying, here's my story. I hope someone else can learn from my situation. And she's struggled with drug addiction, and she's been in with the Y for about 11 months now, and she's been clean and sober, and so we celebrated that day. And her goal going back to being goal focused, her goal is to then, after she can remain her sobriety, to go and reach out to other women. And so she showed up and set, and she was ready. She was ready, and we were so glad to have her.
Wonderful. The transformation is just incredible, and you see the confidence in their faces, and it really comes through. Carrie, what are some of the addiction counseling services or services related to that the YWCA provides?
So we'll work with any woman who is overcoming any type of or who is recovery oriented. So somebody might be addicted to substance such as alcohol, or heroin is a big issue in our community right now. Oftentimes we find that women will turn to substances to mask past trauma that they've experienced. So it's our job to really help women understand the trauma that they're experiencing and address that in a way that does not rely on substances. And that's tough for some women. And we just use different approaches, different techniques that help them thrive in the community opposed to relying on drugs. And it's very personal. So women need their own time, their own recovery plan. For each person, it's entirely different. But one of the things that is so important is that recovery is holistic. It is not just about putting down a drug. It's about really looking at the services that you might need to thrive, but also looking at the exterior. I talked to some of these women, and after they had their makeover, it was the catalyst for them to change and really felt beautiful on the outside, so that they could start to focus on some of the pain that they have on the inside. So we're thrilled about that, and really do look for holistic ways to address recovery for the women that live at the YWCA.
Right. How do women show up at the YWCA? Are they referred, or do you think that enough women are aware of the services and programs that are there?
We can always use help promoting the services, but generally a lot of the referrals do come in through Monroe County Department of Human Services, but we do have quite a presence in the community, and so you do talk to women like Mila who had used our services in the past, or might have heard from other friends about the services that we offer, and you start to see women that will seek out our support on their own. We're part of all sorts of networks in the community to talk about our programming. Homeless Services Network, we're a very active part of the local continuum of care to end, for homelessness. In the recovery world, we get connected to different outside organizations and networks that really help promote the work that we're doing. So it's a plethora of different kinds of referrals.
Right. This is a question for either of you. Why do you think telling these stories is so important?
Well, that's such a huge question, because it's vital. It's vital to the growth of our community, because if one person can just see one person make it, if they could just see one person transform their lives, it will give them more strength to keep moving forward, to say, I can do this. And that's why we decided to do it. That's what our mission was. And to hear that the women really took that and really looked at that to help inspire them to carry on, it really touches me. It almost brings tears to my eyes. It's really touching for me, because that's exactly what we wanted to do. And if we even could have done it just for those women, if no one else who reads it is inspired or feel anything about it, just to hear that those women, it made a difference for them, is well enough for us.
And I think community perception. I think sometimes women are perceived as being lazy or unmotivated, or don't want to go to work. But it's very, very hard and challenging for women to survive in our society, and to have these wonderful stories that highlight their beautiful talent and their contributions to our community is important, because we need to change the perception.
Yes.
And this will help, I think.
You kind of answered my next question already. I was going to ask, what are some of the challenges that the YWCA faces?
It definitely is this perception that people have about the type of clientele that we serve and the people that come to us for support. When people talk to me about homelessness, even my close friends who I've talked to about this for years still have this idea that a homeless person is a individual on an overpass with a brown paper bag covering a can collecting change, or that they don't want to go to work. And that's not the case. there's housing burdens for women. Most of the women that have children have to pay for daycare and groceries, and trying to make a living and trying to find daycare and just empower themselves. It's really, really hard. And if we can have the community understand that, then maybe there will be more members of our community that really step up and start to help or start to change the way that we work together as a community.
Yeah.
So.
What are some of the specific ways that the community can help?
I think volunteering
Yes.
is always a really wonderful resource. Simple as coming into our homeless shelter and cooking a meal once a week. And it doesn't have to be all the time. It can be, when it's convenient for a family, because we know how busy people are. Maybe it's mentoring somebody. Most of the women that I've talked to say it's just one person that can change my whole outlook on life. And having somebody engage and just talk and encourage somebody can often be that thing that changes the momentum for a person. It could be doing yard work. It could be doing some peer counseling. There's so many ways people can help. And of course, you have my website listed, so there are plenty of opportunities listed at the website.
And I'm sure a lot of times people that have been served there will return as volunteers. This was the case with some of these stories that you've featured. You have a special relationship with Mila. Can you tell us about that and how you work with her in housing?
Oh, we're working so hard to become trauma informed at the YWCA, and really having some systematic changes that create this really positive culture for women when they come into our organization. And Mila has such amazing insight, and her mission, now that she's been touched by other people that have helped empower her, she feels that she can give back to the organization. So Mila has become my personal advisor. She has helped me revamp policy. She's helped me revamp the way that we hire staff, or give me ideas about the type of staff that should be working with women who are in crisis. She's just positively amazing, and more importantly, she's out in the community. She's talking about our programs, and she's giving back in such a meaningful way.
And Juanita, you really capture that nicely in the magazine. And both of you have mentioned partnerships as being so crucial to what you do. For BreakThru Magazine, what does that mean, and who are some of the partners that you've worked with?
Well, we're actually venturing out. The Y was one of our biggest partners. We were so excited to work with them. We're also going to be teaming up with Dress for Success to, provide suits for women in transition. If you don't have a suit to go to an interview, it could be a small thing, just like she mentioned, just something small, just to donate a suit so they can go to an interview to try to get back on their feet. It's just a small thing. So Dress for Success is one of them. And we're actually doing many other initiatives through the Rochester City School District. We're going to be partnering up with them to provide book bags for children going back to school. And that's really what it's about, really partnering up with one another. If I have something that you may need, let's partner up. And let's get the word out, because really the community is really what's our main focus.
And BreakThru has adopted a specific school, is that correct?
Yes, we adopted school number 9. And it's so funny how it came about, because we were looking for schools to adopt. Which school would we adopt? And when we went back to the team, we realized that many of our team members have connections to school number 9. I myself went to school number 9 along with our assistant editor, and in pre-K. So it was like a perfect fit. And when we talked to the principal there, the needs of the children, we just figured that that's a school for us.
And you've got quite a big staff now. You've been at this for 2 years. You want to share a little bit more about your staff there?
Oh, the staff, they're phenomenal. And the good thing about that is to surround yourself with people who are moving in a positive, who have the same mission and the same love for the community. Many people, when we told them about the Y, they just wanted to donate their time just to meet the ladies. And even like our makeup artist who did the makeup for the ladies, Corey Bryan, our stylist and the hair, people who worked on the hair, Raya Lipton, and our stylist, Latrice Brown, they just really were excited about working with these ladies. And so we were just, it takes a team. It takes more than one person. It takes a team, someone to bring an idea, and then the team to help make it happen.
And there's some behind the scenes kind of looks at how the interviews came together and the makeover process, and that's on your website. So that's another item that viewers can check out. Juanita, what have you learned yourself over these past 2 years that you might not have expected doing BreakThru?
Wow, over these couple of years, I've learned the true meaning of empowerment and the true meaning of community. Because, as I mentioned before, it takes more than one person to make things really happen, and to really stay focused on what we're doing. But also, just in doing it, I discovered the different needs of the community that I had not known before. And some of the things that we take for granted, we spoke a little bit earlier, but just the little things like trips to the grocery store, like the Y provides for these ladies. And when we talked to them, they were so touched that the YWCA would even provide a trip to them to the grocery store. And so those type of needs, I learned that, you know, they're so great, and we all can do something. We all could do one simple thing to help someone.
Carrie, can you tell us a little bit about the mission to create racial justice in Rochester and what that means?
Yeah, I think, you know, one of the things that we have recognized is that there are still a lot of racial disparities in our community. Access to housing, access to benefit, access to resources. And our primary mission is to provide access to women so that they can continue to empower themselves. So for us to even begin the dialogue in our community is such a healthy thing, because if we recognize what it looks like, if we bond together as a community to really have an impact on racial justice, then we will start to see our community thrive. And so it is really near and dear to us, and it really is about helping individuals get access to the basic needs that they have to survive and thrive. So it's a really important topic. I think just getting us started on the conversation is a really great starting point, and there is such a community involvement right now, and strong partnerships that are really focused on this. So I feel us really gaining momentum, and it's really, really exciting because it's such an important topic.
Right. Juanita, what's next for BreakThru Magazine?
I mentioned the Dress for Success. We have a Dress for Success event coming up July 26th. That's Saturday, July 26th at Press Cafe on 480 East Main Street, where you could come and donate a suit. It's a free event. And if you have a suit or business attire, it could be a dress, a blouse, dress pants, anything to donate a suit to make sure that women in our community who are trying to get back on their feet, you know, have attire to wear to work.
And there's some information on your website
There
on
is.
that. Okay. And Carrie, there's an upcoming gala this fall. What can you tell us about that? And Juanita, you mentioned that you were inspired by attending one of these events. So,
well, if you have not come to one of our Empowering Women lunches, I encourage you to come on October 2nd. We will be, we are honored to have Elizabeth Smart joining us to talk about how she's overcome adversity and has become empowered. We also will feature some stories of women that have experienced some positive impact from our programs, and it's just it's just so impactful. I was talking about it earlier, and I work at the YWCA, and I go to our luncheon, and I am so transformed and so inspired to get involved and really help these women continue their journeys. It's just a really exciting event, and it's not just for women. Men, we encourage you to come as well.
Ask about the men.
Yeah.
Okay. So. How important what can men do? You know, they see YWCA, but what do the men do, you know, specific that maybe the women can't do, be a voice, you know?
Yeah. Men are such an important part of our mission. And I think people don't understand that we do work with men too. Men are important parts of families, and sometimes it's important to have a male in a family in order to see a family thrive. And you know, to see men come and support our organization is really, it helps empower other men to get involved and maybe get involved in families or become a mentor, or maybe come into a family where there isn't a male present to really help this family get that presence. So I think just having the support of men to support our initiative and our families is critical.
And what's the future of this partnership? Can we expect more from BreakThru?
Yes, absolutely. We're excited. We have meetings in the works. We're excited about working more and partnering up with more things to provide more services.
And speaking of men, there are some men that you've recently featured.
Yes.
You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, we actually featured single dads. Because oftentimes we hear about the stories about single moms, and oftentimes the dads are left left out. But you know, just like with the Y, they can pitch in and help. They still have a place. We wanted to make sure that they still had a place with us as well. And so we wanted to highlight them, just to say we see you're out there, you're providing for your children, and you're doing it by yourself. And you should be commended, because any single parent, any single parent should be commended. And the fact that dads, and we even had a dad with 2 young girls, so they keep him in his toes. And we were excited about that, and just to, you know, and for them just to have their story heard as well.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, why don't you tell us, you're now in Wegmans. That's pretty exciting. Where else can we find BreakThru Magazine?
You can find BreakThru, as you mentioned, in Wegmans, in Rochester and Buffalo, all of Wegmans locations. We're also at Worldwide News, which is on St. Paul. And we are at Mood Makers Bookstore in Village Gate.
Excellent. Well, thank you, ladies, so much for coming. We're excited to take a look at that myself. Again, for more information on BreakThru Magazine, head to their website, breakthroughmag.com. And to learn more about the YWCA of Rochester and Monroe County, visit ywcarochester.org or call 546-5820. Thanks for joining us on this edition of CityWise. I'm Tiana Stevens, and we'll see you next week.